Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Chief Anderson. I'm here to give an annual update for the Shrewsbury Police Department. I'm going to start with the big one, the station update. We're 3 weeks into construction. The building area footings and foundation forming is pouring and ongoing. Permanent power and data setup is in the upcoming week. Should be in the probably the early next week for the 2 buildings, temporary buildings that are on site. No issues or concerns were noted at the time of the last inspection. And as we always love to hear, 3 weeks in, so far on budget and on time. Hopefully that continues. Next, I'll go over the hiring and our staffing. In 2021, we had 10 vacant positions. 6 of one were from retirement, and 4 are new hires that were approved in fiscal 2022, which started in July 1st. Through civil service, the process of hiring officers is lengthy and requires coordination with civil service, calling for list requisitions, conducting background investigations, interviews, medical and psychological exams, 2 separate physicals, and then finding an academy. So the process can take quite a long time. During COVID-19, most state academies were limited to 25 seats, which presented difficulties in securing openings. Academies now are back up to full capacity. The issue is a lot of municipalities and cities are in the same boat we are, and they're trying to find academies to backfill positions. Once seats are reserved, the academy is in approximately 5 months. Then the officers in field training for about 3 months. So this means that the entire process of hiring a police officer can be up to a year and a half. So if I was told today I can hire a police officer, you will not see a police officer until most likely December of 2022. Mm-hmm. We had Officer DeSimone graduated from the Randolph Police Academy on July 2nd this year, and Officer Matero will be graduating from the Boylston Police Academy next Monday. We originally had 3 officers in that academy. 1 withdrew in week 2, and the other was dismissed for academic failures. Another candidate injured themselves during one of the physical fitness tests and is waiting to reattempt the test. Several candidates were also bypassed during the background and interview process. During this background and interview process, we bypassed 8 candidates. We had 3 officers scheduled to begin the Plymouth Police Academy on September 20th, one of which was unable to pass the final physical fitness test, so now we only have 2 officers attending that academy. We had 3 officers scheduled for the Boylston Police Academy in December. One of those officers now unable to complete the physical fitness test for medical reasons, so we'll have 2 officers in that academy. So that leaves us 2 open positions. And currently, right now, the December academy is full and there's a wait list. So again, if we had background, everything's completed right now, we wouldn't be able to put someone into academy in March. Our current staff, we hired 2 new administrative assistants, one to replace one that resigned and one that took a job in another agency. And we also hired 2 new dispatchers, one to replace one that resigned and also one to replace one that became an officer on our department and is currently in the police academy. So our authorized strength is 54 sworn. Just note that for a department our size, based on our community size, the average, national average, we would be about 24 more than that. So it's about 2 per 1,000 residents. We have 9 dispatchers, 1 dispatch supervisor, 5 administrative assistants, 1 animal control, and have been approved fiscal 22 for 1 mental health clinician. We actively seek out grants. Currently we have an application for the FY22 Support Incentive Grant. That's offered through the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, State 911 Department, and that is going to be for about $128,000. That is used for reimbursement for dispatcher salaries. We're in the process of applying for a fiscal 2022 State 911 Department training grant. That's a reimbursement grant for dispatchers to receive additional training up to 16 hours a year, and that pays for training, backfill the position, and also overtime for the dispatchers to attend that training. We should be getting right around $11,000, and we'll know in the next couple of weeks. We are currently in the process of applying for a grant for a co-response mental health clinician in jail diversion program. As you're all aware, we were approved for one fiscal 2022. And if we get approved for this will be for 3 years, and it will pay the salary and also additional overtime for that person if they have to come in off hours. It'll cover the full salary, and also the mental health clinician will be embedded with our department. The person will work the 3 to 11 shift and will co-respond with police to mental health calls. We believe this position is critical in providing our officers and citizens more resources during mental health emergencies from a trained mental health professional. We just completed our final traffic campaign for fiscal 2021 municipal road safety grant, which ended just in August. We're awarded a total of about $25,000 for this, and this is for overtime for officers to do traffic enforcement and in the community. We also conducted 5 campaigns, which we worked off of national campaigns, and that was winter impaired driving, distracted driving, click it or ticket, speeding, and summer impaired driving. With the equipment funds, we purchased a new portable radar speed sign, which you may have seen around town. That's actually got a lot of feedback, positive feedback from that. What that does is it's an electronic speed radar sign that shows you what the speed limit is and what you're traveling. We can also download information off that unit by a laptop, and it will give us specific readings of what the average speed is, when the speeds occur most, and just different information that we can use to allocate our resources within the community. We also were able to purchase 2 LiDAR units and 2 radar units, which will be used patrol and also on the lake for traffic enforcement. We're currently on the waiting list with the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security for a grant for the installation of a MAX system. That's Motor Vehicle Automated Citation and Crash System. What that is, it will be inside the cruiser, and that will allow the officer on scene. It will save so much time. They'll just be able to take the person's license, swipe it through, and all that information will go right onto a citation that will be sent electronically, so no more paper. And also we could do it for reports as well. Again, saving paper, saving time, and it saves the admin assistant's time in typing the reports and putting all that information in. Training, we just wrapped up fiscal 21 training. We have our required in-service training, typical firearms, CPR, first aid, defensive tactics, and legal updates. In 2021, which was completed in June 30th of this year, we had domestic terrorism, implicit bias, responding to pandemics and emergencies, and longevity and law enforcement. And that completed on June 30th of this year. Fiscal 22, same thing. We have the regular mandated training, but we're also going to have training in responding to emergencies involving persons with mental illness, cultural competency in responding to mass gatherings, which is crowd management, human trafficking, and law enforcement officer mental wellness, and critical incident stress management and suicide prevention. We also did a lot of extra training this year. We sent 4 officers to crisis intervention training through Open Sky Community Services in Worcester. This training provides officers with the tools needed to provide resources for both our citizens and also our officers during critical incidents and traumatic experiences. We also sent 2 sergeants to active bystandership for law enforcement training. That's the ABLE training, which is provided by Georgetown University. I don't know if the board remembers during my interview, I mentioned that that's very important training that I feel is very good for our department. And what that does is that will certify 2 supervisors to train all our officers in the subject. It's called Train the Trainer training. And ABLE training focuses on training officers to intervene when they witness other officers or individuals acting inappropriately, including incidents such as using excessive force. We have been required by mass law, out of 1993, it's Commonwealth versus Adams. We've been required to intervene for many years now. This training takes it one step further. It gives the officer the training to know how to identify and notice these things that may be happening prior to them happening. So it has the officer intervene prior to an incident getting in a situation where it's difficult to intervene. Also, we went to fear and impartial police training. This was the entire department. I thought it was very important to send everyone to this. It was held by Lori Friedel. She's a PhD. She is nationally recognized. She's written several books on the subject matter. The entire department went to this training, including myself. It was really good training. We thought it was a critical topic, and we chose to send everybody in the department to it. In addition to this training, all supervisors were required to attend police reform and bias-free policing. And this training was held here. We had it here at the Senior Center, and it was held by Attorney John Sheft, and he's from Law Enforcement Dimensions. Our school resource officers went to training a couple weeks back to be certified as school resource officers. And they attended training conducted by the National Association of School Resource Officers. It's a nationally recognized and respected program. The topics that they went over were foundations for school resource officers working in educational environments, understanding students with special needs, ethics, counseling and mentorship, understanding team thinking, developing and supporting successful relationships with diverse students, social media and cyber safety, and violence and victimization. I think both officers do a tremendous job. I think Officer Hester and Officer Velia really do a great job there at the schools. And they went to this training, and they're going to come back and work on all these programs with the school department. Currently, we work in partnership with Lexipol. They're a national organization that assists in upgrading police policies and procedures. Many of our current policies were written by police officers or adopted by other agencies, and some of them 10 to 15 years old. Lexipol's policies and procedures are written and reviewed by attorneys who specialize in this field. Their policies are standardized across the country. However, they do tailor them to specific states' needs. And we have an attorney that's licensed in Mass, and he's familiar with policies and procedures and also the laws of Mass. They actively review the legal updates and update their policies at least 2 times per year. If necessary, laws can be changed quickly as well. Policies can be changed to update the laws that have changed. Policies are written in easy to understand language, but are legally sound and inclusive. And what's really good about them is they meet the certification and accreditation standards. And also, Lexipol offers an app where officers can view all policies and procedures anywhere. Currently, how it is, they have to leave their cruiser, come back to the station, get on a laptop, look at the policies and procedures on the computer. They'll have it right on their phone, so they'll be able to do it right there while they're on a call. Also included with the subscription with Lexipol is a monthly quizzes. They create 30 scenario-based questions that are given us through once a month, and we'll be giving them out to all the officers, so they'll be keep officers more up to date on their policies, increase situational awareness, and reduce liability for the town. What we did is we've created a 6-member working team within the department, including myself, and we meet with Lexipol attorney twice a week for 4 hours each, and we rewrite the policies together based on Massachusetts standards and laws and based on their best practices. So this process will take about another year to do. There's quite a bit of work with it, but the guy's doing a phenomenal job in the department and working very hard on it. We also updated our scheduling software. For years, we've been just using pen and paper, and we've been doing that for 30 years. So we've upgraded, and we're going to a scheduling software where it's all on your phone, on your laptop, on your tablet. So officers, we can put in time off requests right through their phone, and they can get approved by the supervisor right by their phone. So there's no more having to come to the station or put the slip in. Sometimes it would get lost or be mishandled. This is going to streamline the process. We'll also be able to track overtime, details, and also part-time officers. We are upgrading our records management system. We've been using a company called Hammett since 1986. They let us know in 2020 that they were going to be going out of business no longer. So we looked at several different options, and we thought Mark 43 was the best option. They were very progressive, and I think it's the best fit for the department. It's a cloud-based records management system and computer-aided dispatch. It's been vetted by the U.S. government, security, and is financially backed by Jeff Bezos. It has over 300 configurable fields and features, so we can determine how our data is collected, assessed, and shared. The main data push will be sometime around December 1st. It's important to note that the data provided is only as good as the data we put in. We're going to have to develop new standard operating procedures to truly utilize Mark 43 to its fullest potential. Currently, our service calls can be broken down in type, and we have the possibility to review percentages. But this will not include any racial data. We don't ask anyone's race when we're on an incident, or the only time we do is when they're arrested. When we're giving a citation, we don't ask the race either. We guess what their race is based on what we think that their race is. So we don't ask anyone's race other than when they're arrested. We made Lake Patrol a priority this year. As you all know, we've had quite the uptick in calls for service on the lake. We prioritized staffing, trained additional officers in boat operations and safety. From Memorial Day to Labor Day in 2020, we had 419 lake incidents. From Memorial Day to Labor Day this year, we logged 749 incidents, which is about a 78% increase in calls on the lake. This increase is presumably due to a combination of increased lake activity as well as increased patrols and enforcement. In June, we sent Shrewsbury boat operators were trained in the basic crew member course, which is a U.S. Coast Guard recognized qualification course. They did subject matters such as handling navigation, risk mitigation, multi-agency coordination, first aid, and rescue operations. In July 2021, we partnered with the Worcester Police, the Environmental Police, the Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation, and the United States Coast Guard, and we participated in Operation Dry Water, which is a nationwide campaign that targets boating under the influence and promoting public safety. It was a very successful campaign for us this summer. Also, we created a joint task force. It was aimed at ensuring residents and visitors are able to enjoy the lake and their activities in a safe, responsible manner. Now, the task force was actually very active this summer. It's composed of the Worcester, Shrewsbury, Massachusetts Environmental Police, and Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation. They focus on the water to enforce boating and watercraft laws, and so we have the legal and safe operation of watercraft. On the land, they focused on enforcing park, boat ramp, and parking rules and regulation, and deterred general criminal activity with a focus on the boat ramps. What we also did this year, which is new, is we had one of our own officers stationed at the boat ramp on busy times. And that was actually very successful. As a result of those proactive patrols, we documented 110 boats that were denied access to the lake. They were either denied because what we did was we had a safety checklist. So we had the officer check everyone's boat, make sure they had all the safety equipment on the boat. So they either denied access due to the safety regulations, or they were uninsured, unregistered, and that's 110 that we did this year. We didn't allow people on the lake. Just to give you an idea, in 2015, we had 83 calls for service total on Lake Quinsigamon. So that's how much we've increased our calls on that lake. And that's all I have, other than traffic report would be next. Anyone has any questions?
Sure, colleagues, Mr. DiPaolo.
What are you guys doing on your spare time? Tremendous, all the stuff that you're doing. I think it's great. I commend you for doing it. I don't know how you do it with everything else, but I think it's great that you're moving the department forward and thinking ahead and using technology and doing things that are more sensitive to minority groups, people with disabilities, mental health issues. I think it's great. I think you do a great job.
Thank you. We have a great staff. I can't say enough about how they all work. They work through a pandemic and they come in every day. Sometimes they work 16 hours a day. They work very hard.
Any other questions or comments?
Just have a
Mrs.
comment.
Castleman.
Sure.
Thank you for the report. I just noticed as I was listening to you, the focus on training and how much and how diverse the training is. And I think that sometimes the public doesn't recognize that the culture of our department is the way that it is because of the training that's done, and that it doesn't stop when an officer completes the academy, but there's ongoing training that is built into someone's career with the Shrewsbury Police Department. And I just, listening to the different opportunities for training and the things that you found important, especially around diversity and mental health, those are two areas that I know are a particular concern for people, and I'm glad to see that you're being proactive and making sure that our officers are prepared.
Thank you. We always say in this business, I'm still learning now, 28 years, and I learn something new every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mr. LeBeau.
Chief, I just want to say it's a very impressive report, and it's great to hear that the buy-in from the officers and the superior officers, but it comes from the top down, so tip of the hat.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Mr. Simeon?
Yes, Mr. Mizikar, please.
I just wanted to echo what the board members have said. It's a pleasure working with the chief.
Mhm.
Just as we've committed to, this board's committed to throughout the course of the year to highlight how we're spending those extra override dollars that the community committed to investing in us so we can invest in them. Just pointing out 4 main areas that the chief highlighted. The additional training opportunities, the comprehensive review of our policies through the Lexipol system, like we're also doing in the fire department, the hiring of the mental health clinician, and then the hiring of the 3 additional officers on top of that. So that's all a direct result of the yes override vote that we're so grateful for, to be able to augment the department and continue to build it.
Thank you. This was a great report. It's great to be in a non-budget setting to understand what our men and women do on a daily basis to keep our streets and all of us safe. We heard a lot of groundbreaking about 21st century policing, and I think you've described a lot of that today, whether it's looking at mental health, training, best practices, applicable law, changing standards, and reviewing our policies. I think it's far different than I would have envisioned, say, 10 years ago in terms of what a police department would look like. So that's great, and it's very informative, and it's very helpful to hear that this evening. The other thing that you did not mention that I think is worth mentioning, because I did have the opportunity to meet with you a while ago, and you also are very forward-thinking in terms of strategic planning. As we embark upon strategic planning for our community towards 2030, you've also done some of that on your own. Could you just talk about that in terms of how you envision strategic planning and for the department as well with your approach?
Sure, I put together a 5-year strategic plan, and it's based on what the needs are for the police department, and it's incremental each year. And, one of those things I'll be talking next about this traffic report, and that would be a traffic division. So I'll touch a little bit on that further in this presentation. Yeah, I think that's very important to have a plan, because if you don't have a plan, you need to know where you're going. So I think it's very important to have a detailed plan. Obviously that can change, but you really have to have a plan. So that's why I put the 5-year strategic plan together. And, I have it, I'll present it and give it to the board if you'd like.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
That'd be great. Looking at the RFPs, and part of the technical proposal was looking at plans, policies, and the like that our community already does, and I think this is one area that's very important, as whichever consultant we go with as part of the strategic planning process understands what we do as a community, so we get it right. So thank you. I think it's important, and society's changing, and the world's changing, and we're doing our best to get ahead of that, which is changing so quickly with social media and standards and people's folks' demands and all of that and expectations, and you're doing a great job leading that. So thank you for your leadership, and I just want to thank you and your team. Since March of 2020, you've kept our residents safe and selflessly, where you have answered the call, reaching out to our community, not understanding what COVID meant early on and transmission, and still throughout that, we've had peaks and valleys, yet our police department has been there as all of our public safety. So thank you for all of those efforts as well, and your leadership, as well as your presentation tonight. This is our first presentation of this type, and you've left a great mark, and it's going to be hard to meet it, so thank you.
Thank you, appreciate that.
That's a good question.
Yeah, Mr. DiPaolo.
Chief, on that ticketing system you were talking about that you'd be able to have in the cruises, how many cruises would have it?
So we would get slotted for 5 right away.
Yeah.
But then we would apply for it again, and, yep,
So you'd have most of them out on a shift.
exactly. Yep.
Great.
So anything else at this point?
Mr. Chairman,
Mrs. Flynn?
I try not to repeat everything that my colleagues say, but I don't want my silence to be misconstrued, so I echo what everyone has said. Very grateful for all that you and your team do. And I think it should be recognized that sometimes when things run smoothly and there aren't a lot of incidences that, the public is otherwise aware of, that's a good thing. So, thank you for doing the right thing for your team and for our community.
Thank you.